Good morning and welcome to Fort Lee High School, specifically the East Gymnasium. And right now we are just about ready to get underway. It is going to be a volleyball match between Fort Lee High School, and this is the first match of the day where they will be taking on Rutherford. You are watching the stream on the Fort Lee YouTube, page. Set the stage here. It'll be the Fort Lee Bridgman volleyball team taking on and hosting the Rutherford Bulldogs volleyball team. We are just about ready to get underway. There will be a second match against Emerson. That will not be on the stream. We are underway here, and the first point of the first match will be awarded to the Rutherford Bulldogs. After this, Fort Lee will play again, basically right after. They will take on the Emerson Borough Cavaliers. Again, that will not be on stream, but it is a twofer here for the Fort Lee Bridgmen. First serve for Rutherford, and they're going to come away with another point. Rutherford Bulldogs, coached by Helen Antsoulidis. They are 5-5 on the season. They are members of the NJIC National Division, and they are 2-3 in division. Again, 5-5 overall, and they have a 3-0 lead here in this first match. As for the Fort Lee Bridgmen, they are coached by John Ziemba. Very successful season last year, 17-9, including 8-0 in the Big North American Division, as they go down 4-0 here. So 8-0 last year. This year, Ziemba's squad is 3-1 in division, 7-2 overall. It is 5-0 Rutherford. Fort Lee trying to get on the board here. And they're going to be unable to. The libero, Bella Plout, tried to save that one and was unable to, so it's 6-0 in favor of the Rutherford Bulldogs. Another kill attempt successful for the Rutherford Bulldogs. They lead this one 7-0. Fort Lee will finally come away with a point. It is 7-1. And now Fort Lee will serve for the second time this morning. Little after 9:45 a.m. here in the East Gymnasium. 7-1 Rutherford in the first match of the day for the Fort Lee Bridgmen. Too much put on that kill attempt, so it is 7-2 in favor of Fort Lee now. Serving is number 6, Luna Sugahara, for the Bridgmen. And that will make it 7-3 in favor of Rutherford. Bad serve attempt for Sugahara makes it 8-3, and Rutherford will take over. Fort Lee, as I mentioned, 7-2 on the season, 3-1 specifically in the Big North American Division, and they are coming off of a win a couple days ago against Westwood High School. They won in 2 sets. Fort Lee actually has yet to play a match that goes more than 2 sets. Lengthy volley here. That one is unable to be saved by Fort Lee, so it will be 9-3 in favor of the Rutherford Bulldogs. Fort Lee enters this one in 2nd place out of 5 teams in the Big North American Division. 3-1, 1 game behind the perfect 4-0 Cliffside Park High School. Fort Lee lost in 2 sets at Cliffside Park back on September 26th as Fort Lee goes down 10-3 here in this first set against Rutherford. So Anselides' squad has come out on fire, taking a 7-0 lead and currently up 10-3. We have a whistle, and a point will be awarded to the Bridgemen. A mistake made by Rutherford away from the ball, and so Bella Plout, the libero, will serve. Nicely done there for Fort Lee, and all of a sudden it's 10-5. Bella Plout to serve again. The sophomore leads the team with 86 digs on the season, or she did coming into today. Again, it is a twofer for Fort Lee. They will be taking on Emerson Borough later in the day. For now, trying to make a comeback against Rutherford, and it's 10-6 now. Make it 10-7, and just like that, Fort Lee is right back in this one. Bella Plout to serve again. That was saved by number 30, Naomi Kim, on the Fort Lee side. Kim saves it again. And that goes out of play on Rutherford's side. It's now 10-8 in favor of the Bulldogs. So it was 7-0 Rutherford. Now Fort Lee has made it a 10-8 match. Naomi Kim saves it again. Looked like Catherine Borisov lost her footing, but was still able to get it over the net. And now Rutherford will come away with the point. It's going to be 11-8 Bulldogs. Plout and Kim come together to save that one. Sent over by Borisov out of play, and so it's going to be 12-8 in favor of Rutherford, and we will have a minute-long timeout. Again, you are watching the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube stream of this Fort Lee Rutherford volleyball match. Again, the first of 2 today for the Bridgemen. They will take on Emerson Borough, and that game scheduled for noon. (12-8) Rutherford. Tommy Aquilina here with you in the East Gymnasium at Fort Lee High School. Big athletics day for Fort Lee High School. Their football team will play later in the day because yesterday's game was postponed. Pushed back to today. It's another rainy day, but thank goodness for now at least we are inside the gymnasium. Back underway. Rutherford leading this one 12-8. Naomi Kim saves it. It goes right back over the net, and Rutherford is still going to come away with the point. It's 13-8. And so the Bulldogs, as close as you can be to halfway there in terms of coming away with the win here in this first match. Again, Fort Lee coming off a win against Westwood. They lost in 2 sets at Fairlawn back on September 8th, and since then, Fort Lee has gone 7-1, with their only loss coming to Cliffside Park. Again, Cliffside Park in first place in the Big North American Division, 4-0 in Division. Fort Lee 1 game back at 3-1. And then you have Dumont at 1-2, Ridgefield Park at 1-3, and Dwight Morrow at 0-3. As a point is awarded to the Bridgemen, so make it 13-10. The Bulldogs have led throughout, but Fort Lee is closing the gap. Bella Plaut was unable to save that one, and it's now 14-10, and the Bulldogs will serve. Fort Lee in their home black uniforms with orange numbering. Rutherford wearing their gray uniforms, besides their libero, of course, with navy numbering. Rutherford unable to return that one, so it's now 14-11 in favor of the Bulldogs. And now it will be Sarah Wong's turn to serve for the Bridgemen. Sarah Wong, coming into this one, led the team with 90 assists, also had 8 digs and 3 aces. Solid volley here. And Fort Lee is going to come away with the point. Nicely done there, and so it's 14-12. Wong for Emma Schulman. It is returned, but only momentarily for Rutherford. It's 14-13, and Fort Lee can tie this one up. Too much put on that one by Wong, and so Rutherford will get the point and the serve. It's 15-13 Bulldogs. Again, they have led throughout, but they were also up 7-0. Not sure if that would count as an ace or not, but it is a point for the Bulldogs either way. 16-13 in favor of Rutherford. Plaut keeps this one alive. Borisov, but Rutherford returns it. And Rutherford is going to come away with the point there again. It's 17-13 in favor of the Bulldogs. Again, Rutherford 5-5 on the season, but they've looked good so far today, trying to hold on to this lead. Borisov, and that's going to be a kill. 17-14 in favor of Rutherford. Bella Plaut will go to the bench, and Borisov will serve for the Bridgemen. Rutherford is able to get it over. And we have a whistle as Emma Schulman went to send it over. Fort Lee did something wrong, and so Rutherford will get the point and the ball. Now Borisov will sit in favor of Plaut, and it's 18-14 in favor of Rutherford. Shulman. This time it goes over her head. Very nicely done there by number 17 on Rutherford. And the Bulldogs take a 19-14 lead. They're starting to separate themselves a little bit again. Shulman missed on her attempt to send the ball over, and so it's 20-14 in favor of the Bulldogs. Again, each set goes to 25, so Rutherford can now smell a victory. Unsuccessful attempt there for Fort Lee, and now Rutherford has matched their biggest lead of the set. It's 21-14. Rutherford somehow kept that alive. They keep it alive again. Shulman. Rutherford again keeps it alive, but Fort Lee will, in fact, come away with the point this time. So it's 21-15 in favor of Rutherford, and Emma Shulman to serve for the Bridgmen. Critical part of this first set here for Fort Lee. And a Rutherford player throws it right into the net. So it's 21-16. And make it 21-17 as the Bridgmen just will not go away. So we have another timeout called. It is 21-17 in favor of Rutherford here in this first set of the first match of the day for the Bridgmen. Again, no stream of this one, but it will be at noon. Fort Lee taking on Emerson Borough. Little 2-for-1 action. Emerson Borough went 22-4 last year, but is just 2-6 this year, and in second to last place in the NJIC Patriot Division. Rutherford in the NJIC National Division. Again, 5-5 on the season, 2-3 in division, as opposed to Fort Lee, 7-2 on the season, and 3-1 in division, and now trailing just 21-18. Again, the Bridgmen refuse to go away, and it'll be Shulman serving again as Rutherford makes a substitution. Sugahara was unable to keep that one alive, and so it's 22-18 now in favor of Rutherford. Shulman comes off in favor of Naomi Kim. Rutherford is only 3 points away from winning this first set. Billipout keeps it alive for her team. Now Rutherford. And way too much put on that one. It's 22-19, and Fort Lee will get a chance to serve again. It's going to be Sugahara. Little too much put on that one for Fort Lee, and so it's 23-19. Rutherford 2 points away from coming up with a win here in this first set. Low serve, Plout unable to keep it alive, and it's 24-19. This will be match point. Rutherford went up 7-0, and they've led throughout here in this first set. Nicely done there for Fort Lee, and the Bridgemen are still alive. It's 24-20, and Plout will serve as Catherine Borisov comes back on the court. A bad serve for Plout, and that'll do it. Rutherford will come away with the win here in the first set, 25-20. So the squads will now switch sides of the court. And Fort Lee, who has not played a match yet this year that has gone more than 2 sets, is going to have to hope for that today if they want to come away with a victory. 25-20, the final of that first set for the Rutherford Bulldogs, looking to improve to 6-5 on the season. Fort Lee, meanwhile, is looking to get a winning streak going. They won their last match against Westwood on Thursday. Fort Lee lost their first match of the year at Fairlawn back on September 8th. Then they won 6 in a row, and they were halted by Cliffside Park back on September 26th. That was Tuesday. On Thursday, the win against Westwood, and now today, taking on Rutherford and down 1-0 in terms of sets. And then at noon, the Bridgemen will take on the Emerson Borough Cavaliers. Right now, John Ziemba is focused on his squad winning this second set. Not sure about Rutherford, but Emerson Borough also has yet to play a match this year that goes more than 2 sets. So Fort Lee certainly has their work cut out for them. Rutherford led throughout. Again, they went up 7-0 in that last set and hung on for the 25-20 W. Trying to lock down a victory. And I will be back momentarily with that second set. Tommy Aquilina back here with you at the East Gymnasium here at Fort Lee High School. The Bridgemen trailing the Rutherford Bulldogs 1-0 here in their first match of the day. We are just about ready for the second set. Not a divisional game for Fort Lee, but looking to win their second in a row. And we are underway. That serve just barely got over, actually grazed the net on the way by for Rutherford, but once again, the Bulldogs take the lead. It's 1-0. They went up 7-0 in the first set, and Fort Lee kept it close but was unable to come back from it. And Rutherford will go up 2-0. Sonia Yurchenko unable to successfully get that one back over the net, and now she will sit with Rutherford leading 2-0. And make it 3-0 in favor of Rutherford. The Bulldogs have done a great job today at jumping out to early leads and also playing with a lead. That one caught too much of the net on the way by, so even though it did land on Fort Lee's side, that will be a point for the Bridgemen. It's 3-1, and now Fort Lee going to try to get back in this one. It'll be Schulman serving. Rutherford is able to get it back over to Fort Lee's side. Kept alive by Sugahara, but only momentarily. And it's now 4-1 in favor of Rutherford. Again, first match of 2 for the Bridgemen today, but obviously you don't want to have a rough 2 sets to start off the day. Sugahara, that one just barely goes over the net. It's 4-2 in favor of Rutherford. And now Luna Sugahara will be serving. And it's now 4-3 in favor of Rutherford. Fort Lee looking to tie up this second set. And they will be able to. Too much put on that spike attempt. And it's now 4-4, and Fort Lee can take their first lead of the morning. Good serve for Sugahara. Rutherford keeps it alive, and we play on. 5-4 Rutherford, as the Bulldogs still have not trailed yet today. And now their libero to serve. Naomi Kim keeps it alive for the Bridgmen. And they're going to come away with the point. We are once again tied at 5. Yurchenko will sit, and Plout will serve for the Bridgmen. Catherine Borisov. Rutherford unable to keep it alive, and the Bridgmen do, in fact, have their first lead of the day. It is 6-5 in favor of Fort Lee. Borisov keeps that one alive. Sarah Wong sends it over, and Fort Lee now has a multi-point lead. It's 7-5. Again, Fort Lee needs to win back-to-back sets to come away with the victory after losing the first set 25-20. That's going to go down as an ace for Bella Plout. It is 8-5 in favor of Fort Lee, and that should be Plout's second ace of the season. Really good serve. Another good serve, but Rutherford is able to return this one. Kept alive by Naomi Kim. Fort Lee gets it over. We play on. A little helter-skelter for Rutherford. They weren't sure what exactly they were doing, and Helen Antsolidis will take a timeout. First timeout of this second set. It is 9-5 in favor of Fort Lee. Again, they need to win this set and the next one to come away with a victory, and then at about noon, they will take on Emerson Borough. Okay, so a quick timeout. And now Bella Plout to serve again for the Bridgmen. It is now 10-5 in favor of Fort Lee. And too much put on that one, so Fort Lee starting to pull away a little bit now. It's 11-5. Really good serve attempt by Bella Plout. And it's going to be 12-5. Bridgmen lost the first set 25-20. Now about halfway towards claiming the second set. And it is now 13-5 on the devastating spike attempt. Plout continuing to do good work. She keeps that one alive. That's Catherine Borisov, and she keeps it in. Nicely done. Or no, she was unable to keep it in. It did land out of play. And so it's 13-6. And Rutherford will make a substitution and serve. That was kept alive by Sarah Wong. And Fort Lee comes away with the point. It's 14-6. Fort Lee to serve, and Naomi Kim will sub out in favor of Shulman. And Salidas also makes a sub. Shulman met a bulldog at the net, and Fort Lee comes away with the point. It's 15-6. Fort Lee pouring it on in this one as they try to tie this matchup. Once again, Shulman was right there at the net, and it's 15-7 as the ball landed on her side of the court. So the Bulldogs take over serving. Borisov, but Rutherford keeps it alive. Unable to keep that one alive. It's 16-7 in favor of Fort Lee, and the Bridgmen will be serving. Bad serve from Wong, and so it's 16-8, and Rutherford to serve. Rutherford unable to keep that one alive, and so it's 17-8. Fort Lee to serve. Plout will step off in favor of Yurchenko. Borisov to serve with the left hand. It's 17-8 in favor of the Bridgmen. Fort Lee keeps this one alive. Wong gets it over on the third hit. Was that in or out? It was out, and it's 18-8 Fort Lee. Borisov gets to keep serving. That was in. And so Rutherford, much like Fort Lee in the last set, refusing to go away. It's 18-9. Bella Plout has come back on the court for Fort Lee. Shulman, but Rutherford keeps it alive. He's going to try for it again. And this time, Shulman and Fort Lee will come away with the point. It is 19-9. Brief stoppage as some of the Emerson players get out of the way of play. Fort Lee comes away with another point there on Shulman's serve, so it is 20-9. Rutherford does get it over. And so does Fort Lee. Kept alive, sent over by Wong, and that's going to be an impressive point for Fort Lee. Timeout Bulldogs. (21-9) in favor of Fort Lee. They lost the first set 25-20, trying to take the second set and play a third for the first time this year. This is Fort Lee's 10th match of the year. Each of the first 9 were decided in 2 sets. The Bridgemen are 7-2. This is the only match of the day for Rutherford. They will stay on the road, though, and take on Wallington on October 2nd. Fort Lee, meanwhile, plays the Emerson Borough Cavaliers, but right now they're focused on this morning's match. It's 21-10, and Rutherford is serving. Wong might not have kept that one alive. I thought she did initially, but it's 21-11 in favor of the Bridgemen. Rutherford not going away. Or at least trying to take some of the momentum back heading into a potential third set. Too much on that one, so it's now 21-12. And John Ziembo wants to take a timeout, doesn't want to let things get any further. Rutherford starting to creep back into this second set, as a 21-9 deficit has turned into a 21-12 deficit. Again, not a divisional match. Rutherford will remain 2-3 overall, and Fort Lee, no matter what happens in either of these 2 matches, will be 3-1 in division at the end of today. But a good twofer for the Bridgemen. Back underway. And Fort Lee goes back up by 10. It's 22-12. And it will be Sugahara serving, I believe. I thought that landed in play, but the referee disagreed, so Fort Lee comes away with the point there. Sugahara to serve again as it's 23-12 Bridgemen. Rutherford's libero keeps that one alive. Now Fort Lee keeps it alive. They get it over. Unable to keep that one alive, as on the spike attempt it did graze the net, but Rutherford still comes away with the point. It's 23-13, and now their libero will serve. Match point coming up for Fort Lee. It'll be Bella Plout to serve. And that's a bad serve, so it's 24-14. And Rutherford will take over. Borisov for the win. First set went to Rutherford, 25-20. Second set goes to Fort Lee, 25-14. And for the first time here in the 2023-24 season, the Fort Lee Bridgemen will go to a third set. Lots of volleyball to play today, as they will take on the Emerson Borough Cavaliers later on in the day. For now, trying to defeat the Rutherford Bulldogs, who came in just 5-5 on the season, but have given the Bridgemen all kinds of a hard time, particularly in the first set. It doesn't look like they're going to switch sides on the court again. And I will step aside briefly. It is going to be a long day full of athletics for Fort Lee High School. And here in the first volleyball match of the day for the Bridgemen, they have gone to a third set. So we are already in the thick of it. Third set coming up between Fort Lee and Rutherford. Bulldogs won the first one, 25-20. Bridgemen took the second one, 25-14. Emma Schulman to serve for the Bridgemen and get us started. Fort Lee went down early in each of the first two sets. And a much better start here in the third set. It's 1-0 Fort Lee. Rutherford trying to improve to 6-5 on the season. Fort Lee trying to improve to 8-2 on the season, and they've gone up 2-0. Wong keeps it alive, but it is spiked right into the net. So it's 2-1 Fort Lee, and Rutherford will serve for the first time. Schulman will sub out in favor of Kim. They go through the formality of Kim officially checking in. Way too much put on that one. 3-1 Fort Lee. It'll be Sugahara serving for the Bridgmen as Rutherford makes a sub. Nicely done there by Rutherford to keep it alive. We play on. And it is 4-1 Fort Lee. The Bridgmen with a match going to a third set for the first time this year. They went 7-2 in matches that only went 2 sets. And now they lead this third set 5-1 against the Rutherford Bulldogs. Sugahara to serve again. Fort Lee keeps it alive, but only momentarily, and it's 5-2. Rutherford to serve. (6-2) Fort Lee. That was decisive. And now Fort Lee's libero, Bella Plout, to serve. Rutherford keeping it alive. And coming away with a point. It's 6-3. Rutherford went up 7-0 in the first set, was able to hold on. They led throughout. Also went up early in the second set. Fort Lee was able to come back. Now Fort Lee taking the early lead, trying to hold on to it. Naomi Kim kept it alive well for the Bridgmen, and they will get the point. It's 7-3. Now Kim will sub out in favor of Shulman. And Fort Lee will go up 8-3. Make it 9-3 Fort Lee. And there is the timeout that I was waiting for. Rutherford going to try to stop the bleeding at 9-3. Fort Lee going to try to protect the East Gymnasium. All right, we're back from that timeout. 9-3 in favor of Fort Lee. They almost came away with an easy one. That one is sent right into the net, and so it is now 10-3 in favor of the Bridgmen. Looking to win their second in a row after a loss to Cliffside Park. And now leading it 11-3, so the timeout didn't do the Bulldogs much good. That bad serve makes it 11-4, and so this might be the Bulldogs' chance. Borisov makes it 12-4 in favor of Fort Lee. The first set was not particularly close. Fort Lee kind of hung around. The second set, not really close, 25-14 in favor of the Bridgemen. Now they lead this one 12-4. That one is sent out of play, so make it 13-4 as Fort Lee is trying to pour it on. Make it 14-4, all Fort Lee here in this third set, and we have another timeout taken by the Bulldogs. Head coach Helen Atsolidis taking the full time allotted to her in the timeout as her squad trails 14-4 here in this decisive set. Make it 14-5, and Rutherford to serve now. Lengthy volley back and forth here ends with a Fort Lee point. It's 15-5 in favor of the Bridgemen. Yurchenko will sub in for Plout. The libero steps off for Fort Lee as they lead this one by 10. Yurchenko sends it over. Rutherford keeps it alive, but only momentarily. It is 16-5 and all Fort Lee here in this third set. That's going to be an ace for Borisov. It's 17-5. Borisov entered the day second on the team in aces and digs. And make it 18-5 in favor of the Bridgemen. Looking to improve to 8-2 on the season. That is going to go down as a point for Rutherford. I thought they sent it out of play, but they did not. So it's 18-6, and the Bulldogs will get the chance to serve. Plout back in favor of Borisov. Couple points in a row for Rutherford. It's 18-7, and they're going to try to claw their way back in this one. John Ziemba is going to try not to let them, and he will take a timeout. Looks like that might have been a well-used timeout by John Ziemba, as his team immediately picks up the point and goes up 19-7. Now Emma Schulman to serve. Very nicely done by Fort Lee, and it's 20-7. We play on. And Fort Lee comes away with the point. Rutherford might have lost their edge after the momentary pause. But no matter what the gymnasium looks like, you always got to play on in volleyball. That one stays in, so it's 21-8 in favor of Rutherford, and the Bulldogs will serve. Wong checks back in. And make it 22-8 in favor of Fort Lee. Rutherford will make a substitution as Ziemba and the Bridgemen can taste a victory. This would be their second in a row after a loss to Cliffside Park. That was a battle for first place in division. And again, Fort Lee took the loss in 2 sets. Cliffside Park is 11-0 this year. Yurchenko dove into the stands for that one and draws a round of applause, even though she was unable to save it. It's 22-10 in favor of Fort Lee. Yurchenko will sub out. Glad she's okay, but you do love the effort being given on that one. Bad serve, 23-10 Fort Lee. So Fort Lee went down early, 7-0 in the first set. After that, they kind of hung around, wound up losing by 5. A pretty solid win in the second set, and now a dominating effort here in the third set as they go up 24-10. It'll be Plout serving for match point. And the Fort Lee Bridgemen have come away with the victory. They did it the hard way, but they did it. They lose to Rutherford in the first set, 25-20. They win in the second set, 25-14. They win in dominant fashion in the second set, 25-10. And the Fort Lee Bridgemen improved to 8-2 on the season, but they're only going to be 8-2 for a little while because their next match is coming up in just a little while. Maybe about an hour or so, they will take on the Emerson Cavaliers. There will not be a stream of that one, so thank you very much for tuning into the stream on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube page. Once again, I am Tommy Aquilina. Fort Lee defeating Rutherford in 3 sets. Stick around later on for the stream of the Fort Lee boys soccer game. See you later, everybody.